There's a set of ideas that I think are probably more complex than just that end up taking a person down a road of this all sounds good, but it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought much about what that stack of beliefs is?
Yeah, people like to describe it in different ways. Some people call it postmodernism. Some people call it all sorts of other things. But the very basic thing at the core of that is that there is no such thing as reality. There is only power. And language is how power is exercised and how reality is constructed. People always talk about Michel Foucault and the idea that this is where this comes from. So if those assumptions are true, then nothing is true and everything is constructed. So if I say I am a woman, I am a woman. If I say I am a different race, I'm a different race. And this magical world in which we've been encouraged to live, in which you can identify as whatever you want, it works very well, as long as there aren't as long as there are not other countries and other forces outside of our world who don't believe these airy-fairy falsehoods. But at the core of that system is essentially the belief that reality doesn't exist and it is defined by the way we speak. And that is essentially all there is to power and to structure and to society.
I'm sure I'm just at the tip of the iceberg. That is absolutely one of the things that I put, which is everything is a social construct. Mm-hmm. Nature has no rules. There's no ground truth. Why does that become so deranging? You said it works as long as there are no other powerful forces. What is it that, acting as if you believe that or actually believing it, why does that become problematic?
Because it clashes with reality. If, for example, you say there's no difference between men and women, and therefore I'm a woman. Well, that has an impact on masculinity, femininity. It has an impact on how we structure our society, what kind of energy our society has in terms of its posture around the world, etc. So if you take some recent examples, during the Football World Cup, the Soccer World Cup, which happened in Qatar.
I'm married to a Brit. I was with
you. Which happened in Qatar. All the Western nations spend the entire time talking about LGBTQI+, etc. The reality is no one in Qatar gives a shit about LGBTQI+. And Western language, talking, is not going to in any way change how they treat that issue. Because the way they treat that issue is a product of the beliefs they have about the world and about reality and so on. Chastising nations around the world about their values does not change their values. But we believe it does because in our countries, chastising people over what they say or what they think, we think works. We think that if we chastise people for their attitudes to various issues, they're going to change their mind. But it isn't true. Likewise, it isn't true that everybody in the world responds to language. George Kennan, who was a student of the Soviet Union, and he was an ambassador there for a long time, he said that Russia is, I'm going to butcher the quote here. I can't remember the exact words, but it's something like Russia is insensitive to the language of words and highly sensitive to the language of power or language of force, right? Most people out there in the world do not care about being perceived to be moral or being perceived to be virtuous or being perceived to be anything. They care about some very simple things like money, oil, precious metals, rare earth metals, land, force, power, military capacity. Right? This is what they care about. And to the extent that they are able to achieve that, they will pursue that by any means necessary. You see this with what Russia is doing. You see this with what other countries are doing. They are pursuing their interests as they understand them by any means necessary. And if we cut off our ability to do the same because we go, oh, this is dishonorable. It's dishonorable to use force. It's dishonorable to have regions of the world under our power, under our influence. Why should we be involved in this country far, far away? Well, the reason is that's how you make America prosperous and safe, right? But nobody wants to say that because in the world that we live in, it's dishonorable. It doesn't sound good. right? The truth is, I remember, I said this on Twitter recently, in 1990, in the 90s and the noughties, you had all these American movies in which some CIA guy would be like, and they hate us because we have freedom. And I was like, no, idiot, they hate you because you have power. That's why they hate you. People don't want to hear this, but on 9/11, most of the world cheered. It wasn't because they hate your freedom. It's not because most of the world is jihadi terrorists. People don't like the people at the top of the pyramid. Everybody wants to take your place. And that is the simple truth of the world. And unless you're willing to stand in that place and defend it, someone will come and take it away from you. It's no different to cartels in Mexico, right? Once they sense a weakness in the strongest cartel, what happens? Someone comes after it, it fragments, they form a new thing, they start again. That's how power works, and there's no escaping it.